Hi everybody, welcome to Let's Make Art. I am Sarah Cray and we are doing a little Let's Make Art Matter tutorial for the month of June. This is my friend Mary.
I'm not only her friend, I'm her mother-in-law.
Yeah, but we're also
we are friends, good friends.
And our Let's Make Art Matter this month is for Connie. This is Connie right here, and actually Connie is one of Mary's really good friends. So that's why she's joining me on this tutorial. And we are painting, my mind just went blank, Redbud?
Redbud trees.
Redbud trees, which are
Connie's favorite.
They're her favorite.
Beautiful.
She has them in her yard.
She has them in her yard. So we're gonna paint her some trees. If you're not sure what Let's Make Art Matter is, what we do every single month as a company is we pick somebody, a family or an individual or sometimes an organization, and we include a pre-addressed and pre-stamped card and with a little bit of information in the subscription box. And then that way we can share a little love and make someone's day a little bit better if we can, just by painting them a picture.
Can I tell them that?
Yeah.
So Connie has already received several of these in the mail, and each day she gets some, and each day that's the best part of her day. Go ahead.
So if you are nervous about this, especially because when people are going through a really hard time, we don't know what to say.
Yeah, and it's been interesting because all of the different things that are painted on top, I mean, she has like abstract or the koi fish or the feathers. I mean, she's gotten an array of different pictures on them, and she absolutely loves it. So thank you for doing this.
And it's okay to do this because I know that, and why we started it is we want to comfort people and we want to show people that we love them, but sometimes we don't know how. We're afraid to say the wrong thing. We're afraid to offend them. We're afraid that we can't help them. But if there's anything I've learned, it's that it's in those moments you just have to kind of realize it's not about you and just be like, you know what, I might not have the right thing to say and I don't know what to say, but I'm thinking about you, so I'm going to paint you something that I think you'll like. Yeah. And maybe that'll just make you smile just a little bit.
Makes her smile every day.
Yeah. So take the time to do this. Grab your kids, grab your friends, grab your family, and do something for other people. Even though you don't know them, I think the best thing that we can do is just make this world a little bit kinder. So let's spread some love.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna do two different versions here of the Redbud tree. I might actually even work on them simultaneously, but we'll see because drying time and all this stuff. But I'm gonna start with this one. So I'm just using the colors out of the June box. So I have Orchid, I have Sea Blue. Do you want me to do little color hash marks?
You have to.
Okay. I have Lemon Yellow and I have Yellow Ochre. Of course, you can use whatever colors you want, and you can also paint whatever you want. Even if you see this tutorial and you want to paint something else for Connie, go for it. You don't have to do what we're doing. This is just an idea if you're not sure what to paint. The other thing I want to say is, even if you are not a subscriber, you can absolutely still participate in this. Just send us an email, hello@letsmakeart.com, and we will give you her mailing information so you can send her a little love on your own. We also sell watercolor postcards if you don't have any of those laying around, so join in on this. Okay, so let's get started. I have a round 2 and a round 6 paintbrush, which is what I always use. They're my go-to guys. I'm gonna get my paintbrush wet. And so the first thing that I'm gonna do on this tree is I'm actually gonna do a light pink wash. You can see like there's a really soft light pink here. So that's the first thing I'm gonna do. The second thing I'm going to do is put in the tree. And the third thing I'm going to do is put in these darker purple areas. Okay. So just 1, 2, 3. So get my paintbrush, and I'm gonna get, and since we're trying to make a really light color, we wanna grab just a tiny bit of the orchid, just a little bit. And then with this really light pink, yeah, and you can just pull from mine if you want, Mary.
Okay.
I'm just going to start doing like on the, probably the top a little over halfway, I'm just going to start putting in pink areas, and it's gonna go across the entire place, just like this. So I'm leaving white spaces in between. There's not really any rhyme or reason to the size of them. I'm just kind of, this is just a background. This is just this little hints of color that kind of peter out when they get to the top. Now, I was looking at pictures of redbud trees, and they have many, many different shapes. I would assume, I don't know if there's like...
We have in California, they're like bushes coming out of the ground. They're not even actually trees.
Like not trees?
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Yeah, there were some that were like, the trunks were super short. There were some where like the general shape of them was actually more vertical, where they went out a little, like they looked like sprays of flowers. And then there were some where it was like full-on trees. So I think it just...
Whatever you feel.
Depends.
There must be different genres of redbud tree.
Yeah.
Different versions.
Like a bush genre, a tree genre,
A larger tree.
country.
I don't know.
Side of the road.
So whatever shape your redbud ends up being, it's not wrong, because somewhere it's got to exist.
There's a redbud that looks just like it.
So yeah, you just start putting in your pink. Okay, so it's kind of messy.
Kind of watery. Yours is more watery than mine. Should I go like...
I think I just connected them a little bit more. Yeah, so kind of connect them.
Okay.
Yep. Because this one is definitely more like the spray, where it's more like individual branches of the flowers, where this one is more like a full-on bushy tree. So not a wrong way. And you can choose which one you want to do. Okay, that's it. That's step number one. Now we're going to do the trunk. Now the trunk, you can do honestly whatever shape you want with as many or as little branches. The same thing basically is there is a tree somewhere that looks like this, so don't stress out. But the biggest thing that I would like to say is if you want your tree to have a feeling that it's a little bit more realistic, is it's going to start out thick and then it thins out. So the thickest part of a tree should always be the trunk. And then as the branches go out through the tree, they thin.
Right.
And whenever you add branches onto a main branch, then that is always thinner than the one it's coming off of.
Right.
Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm going to grab a little bit of yellow ochre. And if I want to get a deeper brown, what I could do is I can mix in a little bit of the orchid and a tiny, tiny bit of the sea blue. Okay, that made it green. That's okay. We'll just grab more orchid and then yellow and then yellow ochre. And then if that's still too purple for you, you can get more yellow. So I'm just doing complementary colors. When one color is too far one color, you can tone it down by using its complement. So this was really purple, so I added yellow to it, and now it's a more neutral brown. So I am going to start with, so in this one, my trunk almost immediately splits into two very similar sized branches. You don't have to do it that way. If you want one main trunk, you can do that. So basically, I'm just going to, and if it's easier for you to take a pencil and draw it out first, if you're really intimidated, go for it. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just gonna paint those. So I'm gonna start off using my 6, and I'm gonna kind of start to go up like so. Yep. And then I'm gonna do the bottom again, almost next to it a little bit thicker, and then on the left side, this one is gonna go up. Now my pink is still wet, so my brown touched that pink and it started to bleed. Not a big deal. I'm just gonna take my paper towel and pick up that extra brown. Okay, so here's the base of our trunk. And now you're gonna start adding small branches coming off of those two main trunks. I'm actually gonna widen my trunk just a little bit. I want it a little thicker. And so maybe coming off of here, I'm gonna start doing a little, if you wanna switch to your round 2 to do the tiny little ones, feel free to. So there's one. And again, it's totally up to you, the placement. You can follow along with me, or if you just want to go for it. So I did a little guy coming up this way, and then I want it to like feel like it's branching out instead of just up.
So question then.
Yeah.
Do you put these in after your first layer of pinks, like, or did you put those on?
The brown?
And you painted over them.
So I'm putting all my trunks in right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I just established the placement of my trunk, and then now I'm going to go through and be like, okay. And remember to lift up your brush too. So you're like, okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
so it's
so
like
little
almost
bundle of
flowers
Okay.
went in front of those
Yes.
parts of the tree.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes. Exactly. Yep.
Yay.
And you just kind of keep adding and moving up and out. And even little twigs off of smaller twigs too. This one I'm going to have it just kind of keep going this way. Now when you get to the top, you can have a couple little ones like here, but don't have super thick heavy ones because that's going to throw off your sense of the shape of the tree.
Uh-oh.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Because I have that there.
Okay.
But don't have like a
Yeah.
bunch of those.
Okay.
You can have like little hints of them.
Can I put little ones coming off of that one?
Uh-huh, yeah. Also, it's okay, like, since these are two separate branches, they will overlap, right? So if I have something coming off this way, it's gonna go in front of that, and that's okay. Just remember to like thicker lines at the base, thin as they go out. This one I'll have kind of going this way. And if you just want to do a little bit now and then add more later after you put in the darker pinks, you can. Oh, we have a light blue wash behind this. That's step 4. Sorry.
Surprise step.
By the way. Okay. Very nice.
Yeah, I think if you're a pro at trees, you could use that one. This one makes a little nicer branch. If you're not.
Yeah, so with the, if you're using the larger brush, how you get these really thin lines is you're doing a very vertical hold and you're very light pressure adding thin lines. But it takes a lot of practice to get really thin lines with a thicker brush. So if you need to use a smaller brush, nothing wrong with that at all. Okay. Now we're going to add a little bit more color to our tree. So I'm going to grab a little bit more orchid. And now if you think of redbud trees, they're a bunch of tiny little flowers, right? So we're going to start kind of doing dots throughout. Now they're not going to be everywhere. I'm going to kind of focus more on where the branches end. So whatever branches I have going on, that's where I'm going to kind of start putting these sections. Now, are they going to overlap and run into each other? Yes, and that's okay. And then what I'm going to do, and you might not have to do this, it depends on how dark your first wash is, but my first wash was really, really light that it's almost like you can't see it now. Mm-hmm. So just using the color that I already put down, I'm just gonna take a damp brush and slightly smear it around just a little bit, because I want my tree to feel more full. So, but maybe your first wash was not as light, and so you're like, no, I can still see that, I'm okay. Then you don't need to put that down. You don't need to smear it around. But I just felt like, man, there's not a lot of color behind there, so let's add a little bit. I'm just thickening one of my branches here. Ignore me temporarily. And I like how that one had a deeper cut. That's okay. Yeah, and I would start to smear those a bit.
Just go over them with water.
Yep, just with water, and connect them.
Okay. Oh, yes.
Yep. Making it feel a little bit more full. Very nice. Yep.
I need some down here.
Yep. So basically what you're looking for is you're looking for at least three different values in your tree. We want a really light value, we want a medium value, and we want a dark value. So you just need to make sure that you have those three values in your tree. Yeah, so we have that. We have a really light, here's your medium that we just put down. I'm gonna add a little bit over here. Just to lighten up some of that area so you have a lighter value going on. Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
And now I can grab some more orchid, more paint, so it's a darker value. And I'm gonna start going in, and actually I'm gonna switch to my 2. And I'm gonna start going in and adding the darker buds.
Really watery, should I wait?
If it's really watery, you can still drop it in there. It will spread.
Should I dampen it?
I would just start
Just
painting and
it?
just see what happens, because
Okay.
I actually really like it when it's wet and you drop in a little bit of color and it just kind of starts to move and blend. I think it's really pretty.
That's my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah, so that one did it and I loved that. Now, one thing that I do want to caution as well too is as I'm doing this, it can become really easy to have like, how do I want to say, like this feels a little bit more empty compared to this one. And the reason is because there's very distinct areas between our medium and our dark value. In order to solve that, just take some water and do kind of like an in-between and smear some stuff, similar to what we did between the first wash layer and the second one. Remember to pick up your brush. Use the side, I'm using the tip and the side of it to give different size strokes. There, that's starting to feel a little bit more full to me. And then if you look at them too, oh, is everything okay?
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at these two, I feel like the flowers kind of go along a lot of the branch. So if this is your branch, then I'm kind of like dotting both sides near the top. And so it kind of has like, does that make sense what I'm saying? It's not like
the branch line.
It follows the branch line. It's not like it's just a puff of flowers at the end of a branch. It's like it follows the length of the branch up. Yeah, so that's why some of my flower or darker pink buds kind of like go in a specific direction, because that's what I'm trying to emulate.
I was actually going to ask that question.
What?
So what you just described, I was going to ask if you were doing that on purpose or if that was just happening naturally.
Trying to cover some of that brown. And then with yours, Mary, here, so this is Mary's. I think it's looking really good, but I think your darks are staying, I think it's a little too sectioned.
Yes.
Which is fine, because this is what your brain tells you to do. Your brain loves pattern. And so your brain is always going to look for a way to simplify something where it's just like, oh, at the end of every single twig, I'm going to put a ball, I'm going to put a ball, and they're all going to stay the same shape and value. And that's okay.
I know, because I'm new at this.
And that's what your brain is telling you to do. You literally have to be like, brain, stop talking to me. Let me just like figure this out. So I'm going to like go a little off of the branch too. So throw some areas in there and let it get a little bit messy, pretty much. So fight your brain when it's like, they all need to be the same size and they all need to be at the very end. Like, have some go. Basically, you have to think of it as in like there's chunks of trees, like there's chunks of leaves or flowers on trees, and the darker value is usually underneath.
Okay.
So it's like, try and see if you can see them in more like chunks and then blend out. And that way they'll feel a little bit more connected.
That looks so much better already.
So just be like, brain, let me just do this.
Okay, brain.
Brain,
Knock it off.
knock it off. Stop trying to help me. Yeah, very nice. Man, if I had some bleed-proof white sitting next to me, I would just put that deep slit in there. I'm aching for it.
Oh, it makes it look
Can I
elegant.
find it anywhere?
Here's my bleed-proof white. This is really great. So I can take my clean brush and grab some white, and you can reshape your tree trunk. So I made the cut deeper, or like where it split a little bit deeper. Now what I'm going to have to do is this area right here where these two branches are so thick compared to here. So I actually have to go back in on the left-hand side and thicken up this
brown branch.
This branch in order for that to feel. And I'm not saying that every single tree is like that, because if you look at trees, there are knots and things like that where maybe there are different thicknesses. But I've noticed that that's how for me, that feels more realistic for a tree, if it kind of thick to thin.
Is more even?
Yeah. So I'm going to do another layer of white. Also, bleed-proof white is great because, oh, Mary, that looks beautiful.
Thanks.
You can use this to paint over areas and clean it up. You can also use it to put highlights back in. So if I wanted some white spaces in my tree, I can add those. So it's a lot of fun. Super handy to have. So I'm going to go back in with my brown, and I'm going to adjust my trunk.
Mind your head.
Mind your head.
There we go. That feels much better. And if you want to put like little hints of branches in the top, you can. If you just want a little bit more, you don't have to. Again, only you can see your painting right now, so you're the ones that gets to make those decisions, which I know is incredibly intimidating, but I think also freeing. Because you might not have to make the same adjustments I make. You have that power to be like, no, I don't need that. Or yes, I do need that. Yeah. Oh, that feels better. Now the very last step I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a really, really light blue background. So I'm going to take my round 6. I'm going to grab a tiny, tiny bit of this sea blue, and I'm going to start putting it in the background. So what I like to do is I will do a little bit of color and then immediately grab some water and use water to spread it around because I want it to be really light. The reason why I want it to be really light is then the white spaces that I'm going to get in between the flowers and the trees and all the spaces that my blue can't reach, it's okay. However, if this blue was really dark, then the white spaces of what I didn't get to will stick straight out and be distracting. So if you do a light wash, then these little white spaces in between don't stand out as much. Now it is watercolor, so if my tree trunk is wet and I hit it with my wet paintbrush and blue, the brown will bleed out. So just keep that in mind. That's why I like to leave a little bit of white space and also to do a light wash, because then I can leave a white space and I don't have to worry too much. So Keenan, the rumor is that Connie makes the best gingerbread cookies
in
the world.
She calls them frosted creams.
I've only had one time, and it was amazing. And I don't even care for gingerbread cookies.
Is it a family recipe that she's perfected?
It's her family recipe, but she gave it to me. Yes.
Oh, snap.
Yes. She only gives it to her very, very favorite people.
That's probably true. What if you're like, can I have that? And you're like, no, you got to be in my top 5.
Yeah, or you change it, but like a tablespoon of salt. Or,
yeah.
Like, these didn't turn out.
She's like, sure.
She's got a list, holds auditions.
And she makes the best pizza, and she makes
the
really
best
good
pizza?
Cook. Yes.
Really?
Yes, and salad, and I mean, Connie's just, and her favorite part of her life, besides her family and friends, is her yard. She loves her garden, so she's gonna love these.
I'm so glad.
Yeah, I'm gonna plant a tree in my yard to remind me of my friend Connie, a redbud.
Yeah, you should name it Connie and talk to her.
Yeah.
Talk to it.
Yeah.
Help it grow.
It'll probably be like the biggest, most beautiful tree in the world.
Yeah.
Because I'll just talk to her.
Okay.
Talk to your plants.
So this is number 1. We're gonna do the second one really quick, if you want to do this one, because I just thought it'd be fun to show you how to do another one. So this one, it's the same steps pretty much. 1, we're going to put in a light wash. Then 2, we're going to put in our trunk. No. We're going to do all the leaves, like the flowers first, and then put in our trunk. So step 1, 2, and 3 are putting in the different values. Then step 4 is the trunk. Step 5 is the ground. So,
you know what I love?
What?
How one color can make all of those.
I know.
I mean,
it's
you can
one
make
color.
I know. You can just make so many things.
I know.
With one color.
That's why I love watercolor so much. It makes my job easier. I've had to use one paint. Okay.
It really only takes creativity to create anything on a piece of paper.
That's all you need.
That's all you need.
That's all you need. And maybe paint.
And paint. And a brush.
Okay. So the shape of this, it's very round. So I'm just going to start with kind of, so like think of like a big bushy tree. Full. Maybe I should say full. Big full tree.
Big full tree.
And I'm using my brush in more circular motions. Here, what if I do it this way? Is that better?
Sure. Now I can't see the paper.
Oh, here?
There you go, perfect.
Okay. Now, I would like to caution you, your darn brain is going to be like, I love big, round, bumpy things. And all of your rounds are going to be the same around your tree. And I'm going to try and tell you.
I've already done that.
Yep. It's totally normal. Don't be mad at yourself.
How do you retrain your brain?
You seriously have to be like, well, it's way easier if you have a reference. So if I'm looking at the tree, you have to be like, what is the actual shape of the tree and not what my brain is telling me, because those are two different things. Because our brain just likes to make things easy for us. They're trying to be nice. It's trying to help us. But when you're trying to recreate something, it's like, no, there's actually areas where it juts out, and there's small bumps, and then there's bigger bumps, and then there's, you know, like, have fun with that, okay?
Just consider us at Let's Make Art your brain. We're just trying to make your life easier.
Let me be your brain.
This even looks like a brain.
Yeah, it kind of does. Okay, so here's my tree, okay? And I kind of want to do this while it's still nice and wet. So if you kind of have to paint quick. And I know that's scary, but sometimes it's better because then you don't have...
think about it.
You can't think about it, and you're not yelling at yourself, and it's like, just go for it. Okay, now I'm going to take straight paint and go at the bottom of my tree here, because the underneath side part of my tree is shadowed. So that's why it's so dark, okay? And then I'm also going to do, you have to think again like the bunches. Like, let's say there's a bunch of leaves right here. Underneath that, there's going to be a shadow. Bunch of leaves here. Underneath that, there's going to be a shadow.
Mine's really spreading.
That's okay.
Okay.
Go for it.
All right.
Shadow.
Bunch of leaves here. Shadow.
Shadow. I know this is looking like a weird puffy cloud. Hang in there with me, guys.
Cloudy with a chance of meatballs cloud.
Yes. A cotton candy cloud.
Or just cotton candy.
Or just cotton candy. And then what I would do, yep, and then kind of like spread some of it out just a little bit. So, is it okay if I take this?
Yes, please do.
So I'm just going to start kind of moving this color just around a little bit. Spread the love. There you go.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. So yeah, make sure, again, it's that same idea. We want a light value, we want a medium value, we want a dark value. The darkest value is going to be right under at the bottom of all of these different flowers. And if you want a tiny different color, you can mix a little bit of the yellow in there to get a little bit more red or pink and put that underneath as well.
That's pretty.
So it's just a nice...
Yeah, they call it Redbud, but it's actually like magenta bud.
Yeah, it's like a pink purpley color.
Yeah.
It's not red.
She's colorblind person naming plants.
Okay. And then I lost a little bit of my darker value, so I'm just going to do a tiny bit in there. Again, you might not have to do this on your painting.
Oh dear, that was a big...
That's okay.
Okay.
Yep. 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 It really does look like cotton candy. Oh, it makes me so happy. It's so pretty and full. Now, what is her tree more like? Is it more like spriggy or is it like full?
It's more spriggy.
Okay. Is that a word?
Yep, it is now.
It is now.
Yes. Thank you, Mary.
You get us.
Yes.
Okay, so there is our big puffy tree. Of course, as it dries, it's going to change a little bit, so you can make adjustments if you want. Now I'm going to grab some brown, and I'm going to start putting in the trunk. So it's the same thing. My trunk starts thick at the bottom, and then you can just make the branches go any way you want. Doesn't matter.
My branch, my trunk is going to be very squatty because look what.
Oh, that's how big my trunk is. Okay. My trunk is 1 inch. It's okay.
Okay.
And then if you want to switch to a 2 for the smaller ones. Because I feel like some that I saw were squatty and wide. Like the trunk was short and then the branches went out really, really wide instead of like straight tall, where I feel like that one's more straight tall. There were some that was like just kind of like that. So do both or choose one that you like.
Hello. Hello, McFly. I was putting that in my...
Oh.
Hello, McFly.
Do you guys remember that movie?
Oh, yes.
Back to the Future.
I don't know it very well.
What?
Do you want to hear a funny story, Keenan? So Michael and I had a layover in Boston, and like on our way back from our trip, and Michael sang, "Sing It, Mary."
Because I've never been to Boston in the fall.
Okay, I don't know what that's from, but
Veggie Tales.
He probably sang that 20 times.
Oh,
the time we were there, like seriously, every time we saw Boston. I've never been to Boston in the fall. Every time. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
And I've never swabbed a poop deck.
And then also about like leggings. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't look good in leggings. And I've never been to Boston in the fall.
And then we get home. And I was like, Mary, we had a layover in Boston. And right when she hears Boston, she starts singing that same
It's because
part.
my kids they listen to that in the car all the time, the Veggie Tales CD.
I'm like, yeah, we had a layover in Boston. She's like,
I mean, if you
I've
haven't
never
heard
been
it,
to Boston.
you've got to hear it because it's funny.
And I just started laughing.
She rolls her eyes. She's like, oh no.
I did not roll my eyes.
Again.
I did not, because I appreciate musicals. Yeah. I appreciate songs. I started cracking up, and I was just like, okay, now, yes.
Now she knows.
Now I know where
it all makes sense.
It makes sense. I just couldn't believe it. I thought that was so funny.
I have to find that clip.
And I don't look good in leggings. And I've never been to Boston in the fall.
Gosh, it's so dreamlike, isn't it?
My trunk.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That's beautiful.
I kind of like what's going on with my trunk right here. I don't know what happened, but it's dark and like...
Yeah, textural.
Yeah, like bark.
Yes. Okay, so this is gorgeous. I'm loving it. And if we want to do a ground, you mix...
I wish I wouldn't have brought it all the way down. Sometimes I forget.
To leave a little bit of space. Yeah. I should have said that, I'm sorry. But you can still add a ground if you want to, or if you don't want to, you can just add a sky. It's up to you. I'm just going to mix yellow and my sea blue to get green, or you have pine green in your box, so whatever you want. And I'm going to put the ground underneath. I like to start with the darkest color first, and then I just use water to spread it out. Remember to put your ground behind your tree as well. And that gives the illusion that it continues on as if it's on a hill, as if it's on an actual ground. You know what I mean? Like, ground continues behind us.
That it does.
I know you're making fun of me, okay? But usually when you're drawing, you don't think about that. You're like, well, there's just ground right underneath the tree. And then I'm going to add a little bit of blue as like the shadow. The tree itself is casting a shadow on the ground, like that. And of course, you guys know me in color, so I just got to drop some yellow in there. And I just kind of went up a little bit on my trunk. I didn't continue to have it go all the way up to the top, because if you do that, it might actually flatten it, because it doesn't create a sky. It doesn't create a horizon line. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, and this is where brains jumping to conclusions are really, really helpful, because your brain sees this and says, okay, there's ground behind there. It keeps on going. Great.
Oh, so you've given us an example of brain do and brain don't.
Yeah. So like the brain jumping to conclusions is really great and can help us. Sometimes. Other times it kind of messes us up because it wants it to be, you know, perfect and all of that stuff. Gosh, I love how my tree turned out. Isn't that so pretty?
So pretty. I just love it. I'm going to send her 2 postcards.
Good. Yeah. I have 4 I can send her. Actually, I did 2 other ones here. I was playing around with different techniques and things like that. So.
Oh, I love this one too. Oh, I love them all.
Yeah, they just turned out so fun.
Well, maybe I'll frame one and put it in my room.
Yeah. Okay, that's it. I hope you guys have fun making these little redbud trees. I hope you guys take the time out of your day to send them to Connie. She really loves them, and she's just, if there's anything I know about her, I don't know her as well as Mary, but she is so sweet. Always been so sweet and kind.
Sweetest person I've ever known.
Like, just good. She's just so good.
So good.
So take the time to send her some love. We appreciate you doing this, and if there is someone that you would like to nominate,
Yes.
you can go on our website, letsmakeart.com. You find Let's Make Art Matter, and it's the very first blog post. You click on that, and there's a nominate there. Were you going to say something?
When I get home, I will take a picture of Connie with her redbuds, and I'll send them to you. And you post them every Friday or something, don't you?
Well, I'll post it on our
it.
Instagram or Facebook.
Because she does love these.
Yeah. So anytime they're for the month of June, send her some postcards and she'll love it. And paint whatever you want. Even if you don't want to paint this, just paint something. Send her a little bit of love.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.